This is Step 1 with Freddie Wilson. Welcome to another episode of Step 1. I'm Freddie Wilson. We've got a great show for you today. My good friend, Payton Logmarsino, is returning to the show. I know last time we talked about Taylor Swift conspiracy theories. We might talk a little bit about that. But we also going to talk a lot about football. She's a football fan now, so we're going to talk about football. We also got some NBA action for you where Draymond Green is suspended indefinitely and Spurs and Wizards broke for losing streaks. Of course, we will do a full recap and preview of the NFL. All right, let's ride. All right, let's start with the NBA. Draymond Green is suspended indefinitely. I know this happened when my last episode came out, but I didn't get a chance to talk about it because it happened right after I recorded the episode. Obviously, Draymond Green's antics are great for content, but it's gone to the point where it's a little out of hand. I've read on the Athletic website that sources claim his suspension will be about 3 weeks, which I feel like at this point, just make it a full month, like 3 weeks, just add another week. It could be a month. When he comes back, I'm not saying we don't want to see his antics, but let's just keep it within reason. And good thing he only plays the Celtics twice a year, because otherwise I would hate him a lot more. Speaking of the Celtics, we're undefeated at home, which is always fun to give the hometown fans a good show. In other news, for teams that haven't won many games, the Spurs have finally broke their losing streak. When I saw this happen, I sure forgot Victor Wembanyama was still playing. I do think he's a generational talent, big Wembanyama fan, but I also feel like the hype died down once everyone realized just how bad the Spurs are this season. And Victor Wembanyama, while a very good player and is going to be a good player in my opinion, he's not going to fix the Spurs problems from day one. It's going to take time. We're going to need more dudes. Again, we want to see Wembanyama succeed, but it's a team game, and the Spurs just need more guys. All right, let's move into college basketball. Arizona gets its first loss of the season after falling to Purdue. Baylor found a way to lose by 20. They're a top 10 team, and they found a way to lose us to an unranked team. I feel like the days of Baylor being a constant national championship threat are dwindling. Very good team, but not as good as they were a few years ago when they won a national championship and then made some good runs after that. And of course, we will talk about the Ducks, who are still playing very average basketball, but just lost to Syracuse by 20. What's in Syracuse? It's not a neutral location, and we still couldn't find a way to win. It is what it is. I think the Ducks are still going to be a good team, a fringe tournament team, in my opinion. I'm going to stand by that take. But we do got some exciting games in college basketball coming up. Most notably, on Wednesday, we have Duke versus Baylor and UNC versus Oklahoma. Saturday, FAU faces Arizona. Should be a fun week leading up to the holidays. Oh, and I forgot to talk about this last week, but LeBron James is now cleared to play for USC. I know he's a good player. He's LeBron James' son. He himself is a very good player as well. But USC, as of his taping, hasn't won a game with Bronny James in the lineup. Again, USC is always overrated and overhyped in every sport. Football, basketball, you name it. They are always overhyped and they never live up to it. All right, in college football news, we have some big moves in the transfer portal, where in addition to getting Dylan Gabriel, the Ducks are now getting Dante Moore, who had originally committed to Oregon last year. Then he went to UCLA for his freshman year. Didn't like it there. Wasn't a good fit. So now he's come back to Oregon to probably be Dylan Gabriel's backup for a year. And then he'll be the guy in 2025. So we'll see what happens. I'm excited. We got a good quarterback room. We got some good talent coming in. It's looking good for the Ducks. Also, Ohio State quarterback Kyle McCord is now going to Syracuse for some reason. Again, I haven't looked into it, but I don't know why he wanted to transfer in the first place. He had a good season. Yeah, they didn't beat Michigan. Michigan's a good team. It was hard to beat Michigan. But this guy helped produce a Heisman quality wide receiver in Marvin Harrison Jr. He has Ryan Day as his coach. He's got everything he needs. And he's like, you know what? Let's go to Syracuse, where the level of football fan there is just not the same. Nebraska fans got their first big win in a long time with a highly regarded recruit, Dill Raiola, switching his verbal commitment from Georgia to Nebraska. So I'm obviously a Ducks fan, but if I could pick one team to bandwagon, it would be Nebraska. I don't think there's a school with more dedicated and passionate fans just across all sports. Like Nebraska fans are truly another breed of dedication. All right, let's talk about the NFL. What was a wild weekend in the NFL. And it all started Thursday night where the Raiders all of a sudden remembered how to play offense and absolutely demolished the Chargers. And now Chargers coach Brandon Staley is fired. Not surprised by this move at all. Brandon Staley often made some, let's just say, questionable decisions. But I still think he's a good coach. I don't think anyone can beat the stigma, though, of playing or coaching for the Los Angeles Chargers. Even when you were good, you'll still find a way to mess it up because that's what the Chargers do. I actually think the Chargers just need to reinvent themselves straight up. Like, as a franchise, they need to start from scratch. They need to create a whole new logo, new name. They just need to start over and remove the stigma of being the Chargers because I don't think you're going to beat that stigma of being the Chargers. It's just too closely associated with mediocrity to bad. Let's start over. On Saturday, we saw Jake Browning find a way to beat the Minnesota Vikings after being down by 10 at the end of three quarters. Still can't believe I'm saying this, but Jake Browning might be a solid quarterback, and it kills me to say it because he is a former Washington Husky. Meanwhile, the Steelers still can't figure out offense for all four quarters. They were up 13-0, only to allow 30 unanswered points. I still know that somehow Mike Tomlin has never had a losing record. I want that streak to end just because I'm sick and tired of Steelers fans defaulting that when they're arguing about the Steelers. They can always be like, well, Mike Tomlin's never had a losing season. Again, like, let's change that narrative. Like, you can't always argue that anymore. On Saturday night, the Lions rolled over the Broncos in a convincing win for the Lions. And now maybe the Broncos playing well was just not meant to last. The Lions are, unfortunately, they're looking good. Pains me to say it. But who knows? Maybe they'll actually win a playoff game. Maybe they'll not win a playoff game. Anyways, I don't think the Lions are going to win the Super Bowl, but I think they're a very good team. All right, moving to Sunday. The Big Easy was too big to handle for my main man, Tommy DeVito, as the Giants fall to the New Orleans Saints. Again, we're very much a pro Tommy DeVito podcast. And the more I learn about him, the more I like. He's sponsored by Dunkin' Donuts, which is a huge win because I'm very much a fan of Dunkin' Donuts. I'm from Boston. We love Dunkin' Donuts. I like Tommy DeVito so much, I made chicken cutlets for dinner the other night because that's what his mom makes him for dinner. I gotta say, they were pretty darn good. Made some chicken cutlets, just like Tommy DeVito. In other games, Joe Flacco still has it as the Browns beat the Bears. Bears had a chance on that Hail Mary attempt. It was literally in the guy's hands. I think it was Darnell Mooney. Had the ball. He was falling down, had the ball. And then he threw the ball away from him instead of catching it. And then it was an interception. But it would have been such a cool play if he had caught it. The Panthers found a way to win their second game of the season despite only playing in front of maybe like 200 fans at best. Tickets were going for 45 cents for Panthers Falcons. Like, no one wanted to go. I don't blame them. Like, who wants to watch the Falcons versus Panthers live in person? The Packers, unfortunately, lost second straight game in a row. I think I may have jinxed it. Once I realized the Packers don't lose in December, I got real confident, thinking we're going to run the table, we're going to make the playoffs. Since I've said that, lost two games in a row. And yes, there's still theoretically a chance. It's not looking great. But again, I'm proud of my team. I'm a big Jordan Love fan. Still a proud member of the Loverfest. In other morning games, the Jets still suck, and Zach Wilson got concussion. The Kansas City Swifties were able to take care of the Patriots, and the Texans found a way to win without CJ Stroud as Case Keenum leads the team to a big win against the Titans. Moving to the afternoon, the 49ers remind everyone just how good they are with a big win against the Cardinals. The Rams are still showing some fight with a win against the Commanders. The Cowboys lost bad to the Buffalo Bills and couldn't do much of anything on offense as Josh Allen steamrolled all over them to give the Bills a much-needed win. People always say it's not the best team who wins the Super Bowl, but it's about the team that heats up at the right time. The Bills got lucky against the Chiefs, but put together a strong game against the Cowboys, who just came off a huge win against the Eagles. So I'm just saying, come playoff time, the Bills are in the mix. They're going to be a tough out. Again, I don't know if they're going to win it all, but I think they're going to be a very difficult out. On Sunday night, the Jaguars wasted opportunity after opportunity as the Ravens cruised to an easy win. I know I just said the Bills will be a tough out in the playoffs, and I stand by that, but I think the Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC. They're currently playing at a very high level, and they don't even have all their best players right now. Once Mark Andrews comes back this season, they're going to be even more dangerous on offense. On Monday night, we had a big upset. The Seattle Seahawks were able to come back and beat the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles now have lost 3 in a row and are not looking as good as they normally do. Credit to the Seahawks, specifically backup quarterback Drew Lock. We're a pro Drew Lock podcast, obviously. They clawed their way, they fought, and got the win. Great game-winning touchdown to Jackson Smith-Njigba, similar to how we caught in the Rose Bowl a few years ago, by the way. So great win for the Seahawks. It was nice to see the Seahawks get a big win. Also, I got to take about the Eagles. Ever since their head of security, Big Dom DeSandro, was ejected from the 49ers game, and he's been banned from the sidelines for the rest of the season, the Eagles haven't won a game. Now, obviously, I was very intrigued by a guy they call Big Dom DeSandro. Just already loved it from the name. Didn't even know what he looked like, but you've seen pictures of him. The guy looks like a legend. So obviously, I want to learn a little bit more about him. So I did a little research. I reached out to my good friend, Dan Levy. He was on the show a few weeks back. He works for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I'm like, hey, what do you know about Big Dom? You know him personally? And he said Big Dom is a very important part of a team and very important for the Birds. Those are his words, not mine. So perhaps having him on the sideline was their secret ingredient to success, because maybe no one wanted to mess with Big Dom DeSandro. I guess I have to beat the Giants this weekend to prove me wrong, because I don't know. Seems like that was the secret ingredient. It wasn't a tush push. It wasn't Jalen Hurts. It was just having a guy named Big Dom on the sideline. And now let's get to my interview with my good friend, Payton Logmarsino. All right, let's get into our NFL preview. It all starts Thursday night with a game that would have been fun 5 years ago, but now we have two very average teams duking out in prime time. We got the Rams versus Saints. Again, I don't think it's going to happen, but here's what I really want to see. I want to see Jameis Winston play. If the NFL is going to make America sit through this very subpar game, then at least put in a wild card like Jameis Winston just to spice things up. You never know what that guy's going to do. He's way more fun to watch than Derek Carr. Derek Carr, you know what you're getting. You're getting average, maybe a little below average. There's no pizzazz to that. Let's get Jameis. We want to see Jameis Winston. On Saturday, we have yet another Bengals game as Jake Browning will look to stay hot against division rival, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think this game will be that great because if you're into high scoring affairs, I don't think this is what you're going to get. But I think it's going to be a close game. The Steelers are still fighting for a slim playoff chance and a right to keep saying they've never had a losing record with Mike Tomlin. Meanwhile, the Bengals want to keep their playoff hopes alive and show they can win games without their best player, Joe Burrow, who we dearly miss, by the way. We really miss seeing Joe Burrow every Saturday. We also have another Saturday game, which in theory was going to be a good game if the Chargers lived up to their potential, which they have not, and if Justin Herbert was healthy, which he isn't. Fortunately, Chargers vs. Bills is only available on the stream platform Peacock, so there will be plenty of people who will not be tuning into this game. I think the Chargers will play better. I mean, it can't get much worse than after Thursday's debacle. And also, interim coach, maybe it'll play a little harder. But I think the Bills are just too good, and I think it's going to be a blowout. But I would like to see if the Chargers could put in rookie quarterback Max Duggan. Just a chance to see what he can do in an actual game. I actually feel a little bit bad for Max Duggan. He plays in his home games at SoFi Stadium, where last year he and the TCU Horned Frogs got obliterated by Georgia National Championship. It's just got to be hard going there and getting reminded that your final college game was one of the biggest balls in history, and that's now where you have to play your home games. Moving into Sunday, we will see if the Lions can stay hot against the Vikings. We'll see if Joe Flacco continue to stay hot against the Texans. For the Texans, obviously, I want to see CJ Stroud, but if it doesn't happen, if he's still in concussion protocol, I think a Case Keenum versus Joe Flacco matchup could be very entertaining. Two old vets just duking it out. Should be a good time if that happens, but I think Stroud's going to play. I think he'll be out of concussion protocol. The Packers look to keep any sort of playoff hopes alive against the struggling Panthers. I think it's safe to say we don't win this game, season's over. I know I've said that a lot for of a season. Oh, if we don't win this game, season's over. But then we didn't win a game and the season wasn't over. But this time I really mean it. All right, moving in the afternoon, we have a fun one with the Dolphins versus Cowboys, which should be a fun game as both teams are trying to win their division, secure a home playoff game. Should be a great high scoring affair. And on Sunday night, we have another game that would have been fun 8 years ago with the Patriots versus Broncos. 8 years ago, this was the game to watch, Brady versus Manning. But we don't have two of the best quarterbacks duking it out. We have Russell Wilson versus Bailey Zappi because apparently he's better than Mac Jones. I think this will help the Broncos bounce back against a tough loss because I don't think the Patriots are actively trying to win games right now. If the Patriots win, it will be by accident and they will do everything they can to lose. On Monday, since it's Christmas, Santa is gifting us with 3 games. It all starts with the Raiders versus Chiefs. I wonder if the Raiders can put up that type of offensive output again against the Chiefs. Chiefs are still a good team, but I don't think they are the team we saw last year that won the Super Bowl. Again, they're still a lot of fun to watch, and I still think they're a good team. You got Patrick Mahomes, you got a great defense, but something's just different. The receivers aren't doing what they should be doing or what they were doing last year. But again, I think it'll be a fun game. I think the Raiders are going to play hard. Division game should be a lot of fun. Then we have another fun game with the Eagles versus Giants. I don't understand why the NFL does this to us. With such a big rivalry, this is like the rivalry in that area of the country. Like Eagles and Giants fans absolutely hate each other. I don't understand why they wait until the last 3 weeks of a season for these teams to play 2 out of 3 weeks in the last 3 weeks of a season. Like, let's get them earlier in the season. This is a big game. But again, we'll see what the Giants can do. I know they're not playing great, but we get to see Tommy DeVito, and maybe he'll tear up the Eagles. You never know. He's got a lot to play for. I know they're not technically in playoff contention, but he's still got a lot to play for. He's still, like, could show another team, like, hey, I could be the guy. if Daniel Jones does come back next season, which I think he will, which is unfortunate because Tommy DeVito is so much more fun than Daniel Jones. And finally, we have a really good matchup, a potential Super Bowl matchup, 49ers versus Ravens. I'm actually very excited for this game. Two great teams in primetime. This is a great Christmas gift. How's Lamar Jackson going to fare against a tough 49ers defense? How's American hero Brock Purdy going to play? Who's going to make the big plays for her team? It's going to be a Christmas game for the ages. Okay, before I end the show for this week, I do want to discuss a few things. As I did say, I was going to watch Hard Knocks in season with the Miami Dolphins, and I'm still going to do it, but I haven't watched as much as I would have liked to before I recorded this episode. I watched about 1.5 episodes, but I can give you some thoughts. I'll give you more next week, but here are my thoughts. So obviously, big Mike McDaniel guy. He does everything the way you're not necessarily the way you're not supposed to do it, but more like he does what he wants to do. He walks to his own beat. We love Mike McDaniel. Tyreek Hill's mom, amazing. Love Tyreek Hill's mom. It's just a fun show. It's a fun team, fun atmosphere. And that's all I have for now, but I will give you more thoughts on Hard Knocks in season. I'm also going to do it after I finish Hard Knocks. I'm going to give you my review on Coach Prime season 2, which again, that show was just propaganda for Deion Sanders. They're making Deion look like the greatest thing ever, which again, Deion's done a lot of great things, but as you've seen on the show, we don't like Deion Sanders on the show. I'm going to do my best to be impartial and watch that show for what it is and not rip on Deion a ton. But once I get my review, I might go off on Deion. All right, so now I'm giving you my thoughts on Hard Knocks. I do have one more thing I want to talk about before we have a show. If you saw my post on the Step 1 Instagram, I posted on the story, you may have noticed that I did apply to be the offensive coordinator for the Iowa Hawkeyes football team. So the Hawkeyes were pretty bad on offense last year. They had over 1,000 more punt yards than yards of offense. For a 10-win team, they were just so bad on offense. So their grand solution was fire the offense coordinator and then put a public job posting on Indeed. Not going for the normal channels. They're going to Indeed, where anyone can apply, including me. So once I heard about this, I immediately knew that I should definitely apply. Come on, I'm a former middle school flag football coach. I feel like my qualifications speak for themselves. So I would actually like to share with you the actual cover letter I wrote to the Iowa Hawkeyes on why I should be their next offensive coordinator. All right, here goes. Dear Iowa Hawkeyes football, my name is Freddie Wilson. I'm a former middle school flag football coach who's very interested in the open position of offensive coordinator for the Iowa Hawkeyes football team. Iowa football is an elite program that is just a good offense away from being a strong contender in the Big Ten Conference. As a former middle school flag football coach in a pass-only league, I implemented a simple yet effective air raid style offense that I think could translate to the college level. I also run a similar style of air raid offense in a popular video game, Madden NFL 24, where my online head-to-head record is currently 6-2, and I average 24 points a game. I understand head coach Kirk Ferentz aspires to average 24 points a game on offense. My offensive philosophy is unconventional, but I think desperate times call for desperate measures. For starters, we will not be punting in my offensive system. The Lord gave us 4 downs for a reason, so we will utilize all 4 downs. The staunch Iowa Hawkeyes defense will be able to shut down any offense regardless of field position. If for some reason we don't convert on 4th and 10 from our own 20-yard line, I have faith in the defense. Also, our offense will always go for 2-point conversions when we score. And under my system, we will be scoring a lot. The only time we're going to use our kicker is if we have a chance to kick a game-winning field goal. And even then, it depends where we are on the field. Finally, there will be minimal running plays in my offensive system. I plan on throwing the ball up to 60 times a game. The only running play we will be implementing is the Philadelphia Eagles tush-push play. I hope you consider me for the job of offensive coordinator for the Iowa Hawkeye football team. I know hiring me would be a bit out of the box, but how much worse can your offensive get? I look forward to hearing from you. Sincerely, Freddie Wilson. All right, that's our show this week. Thank you so much for watching. We'll be back next week. Big Fred, over and out.